Welcome back to another edition of the podcast. And today it is, of course, our game week. I say my game week 43 National League preview and predictions. As you can tell, I'm on my own tonight. Unfortunately, Paul could not make it. And then I couldn't get anyone in to kind of do his predictions last minute. So unfortunately for you guys, you'll have to put up with me, just myself on my own, for the next half an hour, 45 minutes. I think tonight's show will probably be a little bit shorter. Please remember to like and subscribe. It really does go a long way if you do that. And also, if you would like to become a channel member, it is just £2.99 a month. I should make you aware, myself and Paul, the other night recorded an interview with Andy Peakes, of course, Tamworth manager. We spoke about everything from the back-to-back promotions back into the National League. We've also spoke about the FA Cup run, his long-term plans for Tamworth. It was a really good chat, to be fair. One of my more enjoyable interviews. Of course, I enjoy them all, but particularly that one is one of my favourites that I've recorded so far, hearing from him. So that is now available to members for £2.99 a month. That will be available to everyone. But of course, for those who pay £2.99 a month, you get early access to the interview as well. And of course, that is available now. Plenty more coming up on the channel too. I've got another podcast coming out where I've recorded an interview with Off the Line blog. We looked at the final 5 games or so in a lot more depth than what we do on a general podcast. We predicted who we think is going to go down, who we think will get promoted, who's going to finish inside the playoffs, basically everything to do with the National League. Anyway, we'll come to the live chat straight away. I'm depending on you guys tonight. I think I always say this in the past when I've been on my own. I am depending on people to come in the live chat tonight and put comments in. There's a big topic we do need to discuss. I wish I had Paul with me to be able to discuss this, to get another opinion of it. And I think us all National League fans, to be honest, will have sympathy for Dagenham and kind of understand, maybe empathy is a better word, understand the situation that they're currently in. But we are going to get onto that very shortly. Starting things off, we've got AJ who's joined us. I'm starting to feel that Barnet will create the biggest bottle in football history. I think Gateshead will draw with York and Barnet beat Eastleigh. It'll be fine. Also interesting for this on Tuesday. Of course, Barnet coming up against Eastleigh. Perhaps you could say that's a bit of a tricky game. I think Eastleigh have been known to be able to compete at times against the better sides. I think on the day, very inconsistent, but when they're on at Eastleigh, I think they can give anyone in this division a good game. As for York, obviously a very tricky game against Gateshead. Probably not playing Gateshead at the best of times. Gateshead just getting back on form, gone away to defeat Forest Green Rovers, the first side to actually go to Forest Green and win there this season. It's not really a good time, I suppose, for York to be facing Gateshead. But I think we worked it out, didn't we, that York are probably going to have to win every single game and hope that Barnet slip up once or twice for York to have any chance of winning the title this season. Dagenham has been soaked down the river, comes from Matt Noble. Yeah, we'll come on to that very shortly to get your opinions in about that. I was going to put a big article on and I'll kind of react to it. I've seen the article. I've quickly noted down some of the things that he said in his interview that I'm going to be discussing tonight on the podcast. And I want to hear your opinions too. I'll admit, I'm on my own. It's not what I want to do. I'd rather have someone with me tonight. I'd love to discuss this with other people, but unfortunately, we have to deal with what we've got, and I didn't want to not do a show tonight. So, yeah, I am on my own, but we are going to discuss everything to do with Dagenham and, of course, get on to the predictions as well. We've also had Mickey Barnes, who's in tonight. He's also said that you're hoping that he'd do you a favour, AJ. Yeah, of course, Gates coming up against York as well. All the publicity around Dagenham will make it even harder to get results. Yeah, I don't think it's the best time for a takeover like this to happen, or perhaps it could be something that could maybe motivate the squad somehow to try survive this season. I don't see that happening, to be honest. Dagenham fan here, can't believe what's going on at the club. It must just be so random for you guys, like, for something like this to happen. And we don't necessarily know what he's actually going to do yet with Dagenham, what's going to come into fruition, I could say. For example, Ryan Reynolds. The only thing, playing devil's advocate, everyone will know my opinion on this, and I am going to discuss it in detail for those who aren't aware, but I think everyone will be aware. Playing devil's advocate, there were a lot of criticism about Ryan Reynolds coming in at first from Wrexham supporters. A little bit, I suppose. There were people online saying, oh, they're not here because they care about the football club. They see it as a publicity stunt. Of course, that's not been the case. It's been the complete opposite. It's been a massive success for Wrexham. And it does feel like the publicity it's getting, it's similar. The difference is this guy, I don't know, I think people are less aware of him in this country, particularly because he's Egyptian. I'm not aware of him. I was aware of Ryan Reynolds before. He's also a YouTuber, whereas Ryan Reynolds has gone down the TV route. He's got a lot more credibility, I believe, than the current the guy who's coming to Dagenham. I don't even know his name. I think it's Senny, I think he's called. No one's really aware of him and what he's actually capable of. Killer Scratch has come and said Oldham. And then we've had Marcel, who's come in, and he said, credit to York for another purple patch, yet another season showing 2 NL non-league automatic places are deserved. Barnet still on course to be champions. What a season. For me, to be honest, what's been happening in recent weeks for me with the amount of playoff sides slipping up, I think York deserve to go up a lot more than any other sides, because you've got Altrincham who've won 1 in 9. You've got Halifax who haven't won in 6 and have scored 1 goal in that time. You've got Rochdale who've won 2 in 8. Forest Green are on terrible form themselves, and they've just lost for the first time at home as well this season. There's no one who stands out to me that I think will cause York any problems, and they've been far superior than anyone else. They've been the closest side to Barnet, and I think Barnet and York, I think Barnet will go on to win the title, but I think those two, not to the same extent as Notts and Wrexham, but it does feel like they're slightly in a division of their own. Of course, Forest Green, you could add to that equation, but what they've shown for me in recent weeks suggests to me that maybe they're not, and they haven't actually got the squad to go up this season. I thought so a couple of weeks ago, but they seem to be really struggling at the moment. And then we've also had Dave, who's come in and he said, I was barred from the club on Saturday after the game, where a steward from West Ham was shouting at my 10-year-old son and headbutting me. Now I've been barred further to a police investigation. Is that as a Dagenham supporter, I thought? And then we've also had Mickey. Hello, Luke. What's the injury situation at the Shea? Horrendous. We've got 11 players out injured, I believe, at the moment. We'll speak a little bit about Saturday when we come on to the predictions, but it wasn't pretty at all, losing to Maidenhead in the fashion we did. We're missing key players at the moment at probably the worst time of the season. Will be a meet the owner session tomorrow, potentially to get ugly at Victoria Road. Yeah, I wish they'd live stream that, because I am looking forward to that one. And then we've also had Joel. He said, we've sold our soul for a small stake in the club, as if impending relegation wasn't bad enough. It's an utter disgrace. It certainly is. Jake Adams has also come and said, Dagenham is dead, sold down the river, we'll never go back. I can't see where our next win is coming from. Oldham fan here. Yeah, they, of course, lost to Yeovil at the weekend as well. And then we've also had, this YouTuber has no money, his words, and feel like playing FIFA. The followers are saying it's their club, not ours now. Also, the woman is a Hamas supporter. Right. I need to be careful what I say, but I am going to dive into my thoughts, and I'm going to basically tell people who aren't aware what's going on. So in the last couple of days, I need to get the guy's name up because I can't even remember it. I'm just going to say Seri, an Egyptian YouTuber, has taken over Dagenham and Redbridge. This YouTuber's got 5 million, I think, subscribers on YouTube, over 200,000 followers on Twitter. The first thing I heard about it was actually yesterday, and it was actually something like Dagenham have gone from like 15,000 followers on Instagram to, I think, over 100,000 at the time. Who knows what number that is now, which is ridiculous. Don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. The majority of these followers are from Egypt and in countries like, well, Egypt, I should say, because they're fans, they're just supporters of Selly and what he's done. And he seems very popular in that community, I have to admit. In his YouTube community, I should say. He seems to be very popular. That's all I really know about him personally. I think he's an Arsenal fan himself. I'm not sure if he's living in London at the moment. Yeah, to be fair, I'm not very aware of him at all. I know what he said in his interview. He's mentioned that his ambition for Dagenham is to get them to the Premier League. Now, we can all agree here, and even Dagenham fans can agree that's not realistic with Dagenham. They get 1,500 home fans on average a week. Yes, there's always that growth, but where Dagenham is as a place and everything, they're not going to get to the Premier League. They're never going to be able to attract the fan base that are actually going to go watch them week in, week out. If I'm being honest. Whereas, yes, you could have said that about Wrexham, but Wrexham have got a massive catchment area. I feel like compared to Wrexham and Dagenham, it's no disrespect to Dagenham, but if I were looking to buy a football club, I think there's more potential with Wrexham. They're a bigger club than Dagenham. It feels like there's potential there to grow the fan base significantly, like it has done. There's a massive catchment area. Dagenham have got to compete with a number of other London clubs. The best they've ever been, I think, is League One. There's their best position, and that's probably an ambitious aim, but a realistic aim to get Dagenham into League One potentially in the future. But the Premier League, it's unrealistic. It's never going to happen. He also said he loves playing FIFA, and he wants to get Dagenham. He wants Dagenham to be on FIFA. We can all agree that playing FIFA and actually running a football club in real life is very, very different. I'm into FIFA. I do manager's career. I can get Harrogate Town from League Two and win the Champions League with them quite easily. Everyone can. But I'd have absolutely no chance of being able to run Harrogate Town as a football club and actually do a good job of it as well. One, because I ain't got the experience, but that's something as well. This guy doesn't have the experience of owning a football club in the past. He doesn't know anything about the National League at all. He's never watched it. He probably doesn't know a single Dagenham player. And I just think it's such a strange one. I'm so surprised, to be honest. 249k now is apparently the followers list for Dagenham. I just find it ridiculous. It's so strange. I've never seen anything like it. But yeah, he's also said that a lot of Arabs, I think it was, he used as have a lot of money, but I don't. That's a bad thing. The one thing I thought he might have is quite a lot of money. He comes across like him owning a football club and the impact he's had where they've grown in on social media like they have done. And I thought he'd have a lot of money from that. He stated that he doesn't. So he's bought a football club with no money. I don't understand that at all. He came out and said that he wants to be successful with the club with creativity. What does that exactly mean? And that's what scares me. To be honest, creativity. I'm not sure. I'm not too sure what that particularly means. Yeah, if I'm being honest, I don't know that much. That's all I know about it. I've watched the interview. I've seen him. I've not got a good feeling about him owning the football club. Yeah, it's a very strange one. There's other things that I could discuss, but I'm not sure if I can actually talk about it on the podcast. I only found out about it yesterday. But yeah. That's all I can really say about it at the moment. Right, anyway, if anyone's got anything finally to say, we will get on to the predictions. Like I said, it's a very different one tonight. There's not that many people. Well, not that many. I'm on my own, I should say, tonight. We'll have a quick glance at the league table. And yeah, we'll probably discuss this in more detail when I've got more people with me next week. Right, so this is the table at the moment. Since Saturday, Halifax has slipped down to 7th. Gateshead and Rochdale obviously overtaken them now, rightfully so as well, with Rochdale actually having a game in hand as well. Altrincham just outside of the playoffs, so is Southend. 4-point gap between Halifax and Altrincham and Southend and Tamworth. It's going to be difficult for them to try overtake them. We will get onto the predictions anyway. So first game that we're going to have a look at, Gateshead versus York. It's quite a tough one to predict this because Gateshead recently improved. York still on strong form themselves. I'm actually going to go for a 1-1 draw. Like I've mentioned, I think it's a difficult time for Gateshead and York for York to be facing Gateshead. So I'm actually going to go for a 1-1 draw. Fylde versus Halifax. Fylde pretty much down, in my opinion. They're going to have to win every game and rely on other results to survive. Coming up against a Halifax side that are desperate just to get back to winning ways. The amount of injuries we've got, it's a tough one, but I'm going to go for a 3-1 Halifax win. Aldershot versus Sutton. I'll actually come and check the predictions quickly before I do that, I should say. Let's have a look at what people are saying in the predictions. Yeah, I'm going to probably talk about this subject more as well on Dagenham when I've got people with me to discuss it as well, because it's a bit of a one-way conversation. It's something I'd like to discuss as a group, maybe with even a few Dagenham fans as well. But these are the predictions at the moment: 2-2, 1-1, 1-0, and then we've got moves on to Halifax 2-1, 0-0. 2-1 Fylde and 2-1 Fylde. Yeah, I think Halifax will win that. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Halifax win. Aldershot versus Sutton. Neither really have too much to play for. Both are safe. Maybe the more optimistic Sutton fans may still feel they have a chance of getting inside the playoffs this season. I think it's not going to happen. Aldershot, all eyes on Wembley now. I think the Aldershot will win this being at home. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Aldershot win. Altrincham versus Rochdale. Altrincham not on the best of form, losing at the weekend to Boston. Rochdale back to winning ways after defeating Eastleigh by 4-0. I'm not particularly sold on Altrincham at the moment. I've seen them play and I'm not too impressed. I don't think they're the same team as what they were earlier on in the season. As for Rochdale, big win the weekend. It's a bigger game for Altrincham in terms of the league because they need to win to put the pressure on the likes of Halifax and Rochdale. So they're going to be going out at this game guns blazing. Whereas I could just see Rochdale sitting back and then playing them on the break with the likes of Devante Rodney, Alavakia, Mitchell. The amount of attackers that they've got is quite scary. And I think if you come out against Rochdale, they'll just cut you open. And I think that'll be the case. I'm actually going to go for a 2-0 Rochdale win. Boston versus Wilston. Before we come on to that, let's have a look at the predictions. 0-0, 2-1, 1-all, 2-1 Aldershot as well. We'll move on to the next game. Dagenham versus Ebbsfleet. If there was any game for Dagenham to get back to winning ways and to start the new ownership off in style, you could say, this is the type of game, the massive opportunity for them. And this might play in the favour of the new owners. It's the fact that they could start things off at Dagenham's being owners with getting a win because of the opposition. Yeah, it's a strange one. Ebbsfleet have improved recently, scored a lot of goals as well. I'm actually going to go for a 1-1 draw for this one. We'll move on to the next game. Maidenhead versus Woking. Maidenhead fighting for their lives. They've not given up as of yet. Back-to-back wins they've just got. As for Woking, pretty much safe. I think they need a point now mathematically to confirm it. I think it'll be a 1-1 draw. Oldham versus Hartlepool. Oldham struggling at the moment. I think they'll get a playoff spot, but I can't see them doing anything in the playoffs. Then again, there's not many sides I can see doing well apart from York. Hartlepool improved recently. They've brought in a lot of quality going forward. The name just escaped me. The winger that they've got, I think he's Clearly. Clearly that's it. Who they've got. He's a really good player, really deadly player. And I think he'll cause Oldham a lot of issues. So I'm going to go for I'm actually going to go for a 1-0 Hartlepool win. And then Southend versus Braintree. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw for this one. Braintree, not too much to play for. Done very well in recent weeks to more or less confirm safety now. As for Southend, you'd have thought maybe they'd have took advantage of the likes of Halifax and Altrincham slipping up. But I don't think overall they have done, and they've drawn too many games this season. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Tamworth v Solihull. Solihull got a huge win actually away at Roots Hall at Southend at the weekend to more or less confirm safety for next season. Coming against a Tamworth side that are hunting down a playoff spot at the moment. Spoke to Andy Peaks. Very good to hear his thoughts on the chances of getting in the playoffs. That'll be out, of course, on Thursday to normal people. For members, of course, it's £2.99 if you want to see that now. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Tamworth win. And then Yeovil v Forest Green, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, I think. And then Barnet versus Eastleigh, I think Barnet will get back to winning ways. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Barnet win for that one. And yeah, if you want to get your predictions in, you can do, guys. I know it's a really short podcast tonight, but I'm on my own. I'm unfamiliar with this, you could say. I've not done this before. If there's any more topics finally before I bring things to a close, then you're welcome to put them in. But yeah, they're my predictions for this game week. I'm going to get Paul's up as well. And then Paul's going to send me his so that we will have them available. Yeah, I do apologise that it's so short tonight. Of course, it's a Tuesday night as well. But I wanted to put this out. I wanted to get my predictions out there. But I'm hoping to do a show on Sunday with someone else as well. Because obviously we're getting towards the end of the season. We've got Monday's fixtures as well. I just think it'd be a good time to put our predictions out. But I'm going to be honest, guys, that more or less wraps everything up. Please check out Cards Accepted. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.